Hi, this is Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart, and today is Wednesday, December 27th, 2017. Wanted to do a video covering the marijuana stocks. This is my watch list, 53 total stocks. I'll get through as many as I can. If I need to cut this video off halfway and maybe break this down to two parts, I'll do so. Many of these stocks, actually all of these stocks have been covered in the past, so this is an update. But we're still seeing momentum in the sector, and as long as that continues, I'll do some updates and show you some near-term targets and levels to watch. Starting out here, they're not in any particular order. Actually, I did sort these today just by percentage gainers, so you can see which ones are moving today up front. But again, that's not to say that some at the bottom of the list, they may have already had some nice runs. All right, so I just added a level here. I can see some reactions there. So EVIO, you had a downtrend line here, breakout. We kind of back tested along that trend line there. We can tighten that line up a little bit. Back tested the trend line in that flagging type action and then have since thrust it up. So we're at a potential target slash resistance now about 104. If it can pop through this level, next stop there is about 150. And ultimately we go on, we have a level up here around 318. And at some point we may challenge those highs back from 2016 up there. Next up is CBIS, Cannabis Science. You had a downtrend line, a breakout here, nice thrust up, and then we had this flagging type action. I believe that may have been covered in the last video, this bull flag type action. You have the flagpole here, the initial thrust up, and it's since broke out. So it's certainly met the flag projection now. It's exceeded this target here, had a target about 8.5 cents there, 0.0866. You can see it at some resistance levels. Not a whole lot more I could add if you're looking for another target or level to watch, about 10, almost the 11-cent level. I have that at 0.1092 right there, that line. You can see some reactions. And then like others, it'll come up here and challenge the previous all-time highs. This one back in early 2017. So again, certainly getting stretched here as a lot of these are. But there are some as I go through this list that haven't yet broken out or have just recently broken out. So again, this when you're trading a momentum sector like this, and this is a king of momentum sectors, sort of like Bitcoin, gold mining stocks, the shippers, those sectors have, you tend to have momentum players. They jump in, everything's going up real fast, big gains, and then all of a sudden the music stops. And the key is you don't want to be the last one standing without a chair when the music stops. But when it's playing, there's fewer places you can make more money in short order than the cannabis stocks here. So there it is. Again, looking good so far, and expect some reactions here, especially when you get up around those previous highs from 2017. Vape Holdings, nice move here. And again, so here's one that hasn't yet taken off from the flag. Now, it certainly had a heck of a run. You can see here over the last couple of months, but that is indicative of we're looking at a potential bull flag pattern here. Again, with this sharp move up in November being the flagpole right here, then this flagging type action, and now it has just started to break out from the flag. So if that continues to play out as expected, you might have a little resistance here at that level. That's about 0.0088. But the flag would project all the way up here to that next target area. And let me give you that. We have a line here about 0.167 and then another line about 0.0211. So we'll call that the target zone for this bull flag breakout here, and that's Vape. Next one up, MJN.V, meaning it trades on the Toronto Venture Exchange, and it's here's a stock at new highs. So there's really not any resistance levels overhead. I'd have to add some Fibonacci projections on here to give you a price target, but as of now, the momentum's there. There were potential divergences, but they're already burned through here on the PPO. Not yet burned through on the RSI, but they're close. If we go much higher, it means we've taken out the previous reaction highs, and then you no longer have negative divergence. A lot of volume coming into this one. So again, these are good long-term holds. Do you chase them here if you don't own them? Probably not. But if you have something like this, you can just set a stop loss or a trailing stop in place and let it run. Again, as long as the momentum's in the sector. Weed.to, Canopy Growth Company. These are the shares that trade on the Toronto Stock Exchange. That's .to. And again, this was one of my favorites. I mentioned in the previous videos, broke out recently to new highs. Right here, it took out those previous highs back in 2016, back tested that breakout, and then boom, off to the races. And there is again like quite a few of these. There's some potential negative divergences setting up, but they're not confirmed, and the momentum is certainly to the upside. You can see the PPO and the RSI pointing nearly straight up. So again, strong momentum. And just remember, these things can turn on a dime, and what you want to do is create your own watch list with as many of these names as you can, and just kind of keep an eye on them. And when you start to see a lot of profit taking, and it's clear that the momentum has shifted, or a lot of these stocks running into resistance levels and then pulling back, that's a point where you may want to take some off the table. And of course, you can always add back on these levels. I'm not covering all the support levels below, but you can see them down here. So for example, in Weed.to, if we get a correction down to that 1343 level, that looks like a great area to recycle in, add to a long position, or take a new long if you didn't have one. You can see the reactions back here, a gap as well, a reaction there, several reactions right there. So 1343 on a pullback would be ideal. Also keep in mind, if I'm using log scaling, which you need to do on these stocks, since the moves are so big. A pullback to that level, it's almost a 50% drop, so it might not look like much just eyeballing the chart. That's a big drop, but put it in perspective. Here's a stock just over the last little more than a year or so has climbed, almost 850% in over that period of time. So you just have to anticipate or factor in that these stocks can and will, they move double digits. I mean, here, this one's up 13% today alone, and that's just a typical day. So, the key, in my opinion, to trading these is keep your position sizes very small relative to other things that you might trade, and use a shotgun approach. Don't buy just one of these, buy several, create your own fund, if you will. By diversifying among half a dozen or more names if you can. CNAB, there was a downtrend line that was covered before a breakout, and this thing has just been a juggernaut since then, moving up higher almost every day. Pretty clear trend. I don't see any signs of a reversal here. I don't see any divergences. Sure, it's certainly overbought, but these stocks can become more overbought or stay overbought for an extended period of time. Next target up here is about 183, and then you have the previous highs from 2016 up here around $3. That'll be a key level. ERBB, American Green, downtrend line, it had support here. This was a support zone, I believe I covered in the video, these two lines here. And so it held that support, and you could have bought it here. You had a lot of opportunities to buy it at the top of that support zone, and it's moved up pretty sharply since. Again, this is a lot of these are low price penny stocks, but this one's gone up 70% since it started to run off that level. It's at my first target zone. If it takes this level out, the uppermost level, next stop there about 0.003, and then 0.0046, that line there. EDXC index. This one, you have a resistance line here that it's been tapping against for a while. It's testing that level now, and that level is right around 6 cents, 0.060. So look for a break of that, and then here are some potential targets, these additional lines. You can replicate those on your chart. EAPH, Easton Pharmaceuticals, a little downtrend line breakout. This one looks good up here to at least that 3 cent 0.0303 level. If it takes that out, you have a next stop up here about 0.0384. ENRT, this one's been pushing up against this level here. That's 0.0525 has been a very formidable resistance zone. So if and when this one finally takes it out, that's bullish. You had a divergent low down here. So here's another one that hasn't popped yet. Very thinly traded. I can tell just by looking at these candlesticks when you see these funky looking candles. It's a thinly traded one. So another thing with these is you need to use limit orders when you buy and sell. Most brokers won't even take a market order on a penny stock anyways. There's CBDS, Cannabis Sativa, and you had a nice downtrend line right here. very well defined, broke out, and it continues to run. Smashed through all these resistance levels so far. Might have had some minor reactions along the way. And there's a little bit of resistance here around 665 or so, but ultimately this one looks like it may want to run. Again, as long as the momentum remains in the sector, this one doesn't have a whole lot of resistance till it gets up and challenges those previous reaction highs from early 2017, right around the $9 level, and it's at 631 right now. THCX.V, again, Canadian Venture Exchange. Uh, Well, I don't see a whole lot here. If I had to look at something that stood out to me, I would say this is flag-ish type action. I'm not crazy about the scope or the size of that bull flag in relation to the flagpole, but something to watch. Maybe an upside break and it'll thrust this one higher. I don't see a lot of resistance. As always, a previous reaction high is a natural or a potential resistance zone that's around 478. But like everything else, the trend has been up on this one, and there's no signs, at least at this point. There is a pending bearish PPO crossover. You may or may not get a correction after that, but as of now, the trend is up and it looks good. HMMJ.TO, Horizons Medical Marijuana Life Sciences ETF. So this is the ETF. This is the ticker or the symbol that trades on the Toronto Stock Exchange, and there's also one, I might get to that in a minute, that trades on the U.S. Exchange. And this one looks like it's had a nice gap up recently today, up 7.34%. There is some potential divergence. It's not very clean. I don't have clean separation on these the PPO line, so I'm not overly concerned. But again, it's not really anything you'd want to be chasing right now until and unless these divergences burn through. Targets, it's at all-time highs, so I'd really have to throw in some Fibonacci projections. And of course, if you're a member of the site and you'd like a price target on this, just drop me a line in the trading room, and I'll throw some Fib projections on there and try to see if there's any chart patterns. I don't see any chart patterns that really stand out right here to take a measured move from. I think a Fib projection would be the best we can get as far as trying to get an idea of how far this one might go. Let's do this. Let's draw a trend line here. We might have a trend line to watch. So if you're long and you want to know where to get out, where to pull the plug, other than taking profits here or almost certainly on the initial tag, if this momentum run continues and we come up here without much of a consolidation, a decent correction or pullback to work off the overbought conditions, I would certainly be taking full profits on a tag at that level. You might take some partial profits here if we get there, or you can use this downtrend or this uptrend line. It's not super well defined, but something to monitor if you're in that stock. See if we get some more reactions off there. The more reactions you have on a trend line, the more valid it is. XXII 22nd Century Group. There's a pretty well-defined uptrend line to watch. This one's working its way up. I circled down here. I guess I did this in the previous video. That's when you want to step and buy this stock when it's oversold, especially during an uptrend like this. So pulled back to the trend line, oversold. Now we didn't have a trend line at that point. Once we had a couple reactions, now we have a trend line forming here. And again, oversold at trend line and horizontal support. That was a great entry right there. And since then, the stock went as high as 45%, and it's almost up to that level again. So we have to take out that previous reaction high around 293. That'll be healthy, and then ultimately take out these highs. But as of now, here's the stock in an uptrend. There's no negative divergences in place at the time, so looks good. EMC.V, Emblem Corp. This one is basing here. Here's one that hasn't run yet. If you're looking for some of the names that might have some room to go. This one right around that 210 level, you can see that has capped numerous advances. That also was support back here, so that helps to validate that level. And then you have a support line here. So here's your sideways trading range. This stock is building energy. There's no guarantees it will break out, but if it does, that's your buy signal there, an impulsive break, especially a daily close above that 210 level. And targets, you can see here on the chart, I have these different lines. If you can't make that out, and again, just drop me a line in the trading room. I don't have all the levels uh, listed right now on these lines. I can turn those on or let you know what they are if you're interested. ICC.V, I don't see a lot there that really stands out. Let's move on. CMED.TO, again, another Toronto Stock Exchange listed cannabis stock. Trying to look and see if we have a decent triangle type pattern there. Not a lot of reaction, so I'm not going to be too crazy about this downtrend line, but there are one, two, three, four, and now it looks like a breakout. So this one looks like it just broke out, and look for it to take out that previous reaction high there, right around 22 or so, and that would be bullish. And it had that flagging type action here, broke out, had a thrust up. Now it has this large symmetrical triangle type pattern breaking out. We don't have divergence yet, so I could see this one from the look of this chart. And again, I know I've said it quite a bit, but as long as the music is playing in this sector, this is what I see this one doing. Heading up here, having another thrust up, a decent advance, uh, and maybe at some point soon putting in some negative divergences and then reversing. So the divergences would look like this, with the PPO and the RSI making lower highs against prices making higher highs, and that would be your time to get out. Hard for me to give an exact target right now. I'd have to take some measured moves and all that, but it'd be a pretty decent thrust out of there, maybe up to around that 30-ish area. Okay, next up is TWMJF, Canopy Growth Corporation. I did cover that. That was weed.to on the Toronto Exchange. So if you're a U.S. Investor or trader, this is the symbol that you'd go after. This is one of my favorites. I like this one. Yeah, a dozen or more in here. They're all, my favorites, like your children. It's hard to love one more than the other, because all these stocks, again, you just don't know which ones are going to take off when. If the chart patterns are there, again, you can go in and out of these strategically, add and reduce exposure, but I like to buy as many as I can, sprinkle small amounts into each of them, and on balance, just about every stock on my watch list here has done, very well over the last couple of years. So here's TWMJF. This, I guess, in the last video, I must have done this Fibonacci projection, put it on here, where you can see we're right at that level now. You can see that fib line right about where prices are now. So this one has hit that target. Next stop here. Again, these are additional targets if this one continues to go. And I do like this one, but I have to mention that it's getting a little stretched, and we do have this potential, unconfirmed, but potential negative divergence. And so, think of it, I believe I still have this one in some accounts, and I may take some profits here, while the momentum's still there, even if I leave some on the table, because these divergences and with this move here that we've had, yeah, I think it might be time to take a little off the table on this one. Maybe let some of the position ride. Again, it depends where you got in, and what type of investor, how active of a trader are you. If you want to just tuck these names away, throw away the key, um, with the appropriate stops in place, this one should have no business at this point coming back down below this 10-ish level at this point. That would be quite a drop. It would fall in half. But again, any pullback to that level should be contained. Otherwise, there's some serious issues in the company, and it's probably just going to continue lower. Okay, we'll do a couple more here and wrap this up, and then I'll break it down into two parts. OGI.V, here again, Canadian Venture Exchange, Organigram Holdings. There's your uptrend line right there. It's been walking up that trend line. So again, if you're long, that would be an objective stop on a close, maybe a daily close. You can get some intraday breaks below these trend lines because these stocks are whippy. So maybe on a daily closing basis. But this one will probably continue to work its way up here at about that 447-ish level, which is a previous reaction high, before it takes a breather. That's, again, my guess. And again, of course, if the momentum's there in the sector. If all these stocks start to turn on a dime all of a sudden, you could see this trend line break before then. But that would be a natural target. And from where we're at today, there's still, it's another 14 or so percent up to that point. But that time you may want to take some profits or hold off and look at this as a potential breakout candidate. If it breaks above 447, maybe it does it on the first run. Maybe it consolidates, pulls back to any of these levels. There's a nice, if we pull back to the 350 area, that might be an objective long entry if the charts confirm. But ultimately, and if it takes 6 months or even a year to do so, you can set a price alert for a break over, say, 450, and then that would be a powerful breakout and project much higher over time. CCAN, Canadian Cannabis. Looks like somebody strapped a rocket pack onto this one in the last just month or so. It's gone up about 1,376%. Oh, there it is, about 1,400% or so. Quite a few reactions. Let me turn this level on for you. That's about $1.04. You can see quite a few reactions to the left. So if you have been in this one, if you took this one down here or at any point, um, consider taking some profits there. Can it blast through that level and continue on? Sure, anything's possible, but I would put pretty good odds. This stock is very stretched, has had a huge move to get up here, that we have a pullback, a decent pullback around that 104 level. Even if we overshoot it intraday or over maybe a 1 or 2 day basis, we'll probably come back in. So there's one I'd be looking to book profits. And again, as I finish this video up, I'm going to go through my own holdings, and I'm making a note right now to maybe book profits on a couple of these names right now. And then, of course, recycle back in if and when the time is right. IIPR, Innovative Industrial Properties. This is, as I said, my watch list has some cannabis producers. They have some biotech companies in there that might have something to do with cannabis. And this one was a REIT. So it sounds like, my guess is, I haven't done my due diligence. They probably rent properties or locations to grow houses, for whether maybe it's for storage. I'm not sure, but either way, it's in that watch list. It has something to do with cannabis. At some point in time, I would have checked to make sure that they are related. It's related to the industry. And I guess in the past, as I've covered this, I probably talked about how this one was just trading in the sideways trading range. Probably put that in the upper end of the range. You can see back here that reaction I was right about there. And then when it broke out, that's technical analysis. And I covered that in another stock earlier in this video. Well, these sideways trading ranges are like a coiled spring where the stock is building energy. When you finally get a breakout, boom, that one took off, and just in short order, looks like probably a month or so, it's up about 30, 37, 38%. I don't have any targets. That's a breakout to new multi-year or all-time highs. But as of now, the momentum's there, so maybe you trail your stops. I can tell you this: there's a period of consolidation here where it had this flaggish type action, consolidated. So a logical or an objective stop would be somewhat below that level on any pullback. You want to see it hold that level. Otherwise, this thing could come all the way back and give up most of the gains on this big run. You don't want to let that go if you're in that one. So congrats to those of you that caught it. Okay, we'll wrap it up here. This, I'm about halfway through the watch list, close to it. This is MCOA, Marijuana Company of America. We had this nice downtrend line that would have been highlighted in previous videos, and then finally a breakout back test of the trend line, and then boom, 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 just right on through these first few early resistance levels, targets. Big move today, up over 20%, coming up on this target, and this is a pretty significant level. Sometimes I don't always color code these, but I'll make this one a little brighter, and that's right around 6 cents. I see quite a few reactions there, so there is a logical price target, somewhere to take profits if we happen to punch on through there and keep going, which is possible. In a lot of these stocks, again, the momentum is there. I'll add another target here, about the 8.7 0.087 level. And then, of course, you have the previous highs from 2016 to challenge. So that would be the what I would call my final near-term target. If this one just continues to power on up here, that's where you'd most certainly want to, if it gets up there without much of a consolidation or pullback, sharp pullback to work off the overbought conditions. If it gets there in the next, say, few weeks or so, you'd want to consider booking full profits there and recycle back in. Even if it goes on to break out from there, if it does so without consolidating first, you'd probably see that breakout fail shortly afterwards and come back in to see a back test of that breakout to new highs. So nothing wrong with taking full profits if it gets there soon. And there's nothing wrong with taking profits at any of these levels, or partial or full profits, or at the very least raising your stops. All right, we'll wrap it up here and look at the rest. If there's enough that stand out, I'll do part two to this, covering the remaining stocks. This has been Randy Finney with Right Side of the Chart. Hope you